mna tubo sana na historia ya Mlima. Kwani Mlima pekee ndio mahali politics ina happen?
Ni kama
nataka kutudanganya na Mlima so that Adani ipotelee.
Ipitie katikati.
Tunajua diversionary tactics.
Who better to explain this, break it down?
Yes, than the one and only.
The guy who fears nothing.
Kabisa, mtu wangu wa power.
He calls it like he sees it.
Kabisa.
Without fear
or
favor. Herman Manyora.
Professor.
Unamuita prof, eh?
Prof.
It's almost everybody here.
You've taught everyone.
Of course.
Wow.
Except Jeff.
Literature. Linguistics.
Some people are unteachable.
Linguistics. Linguistics.
Oh, nice.
Amazing.
So listen, Gachagua on Citizen TV on Friday for 2.5 hours. Live with Sam Gituku.
Yes.
He kept going on and on and on, saying now he has no privileges at State House. President akienda mahali
ana copy
your
design.
Yes. They have to, call in the president. He's out of the loop.
Kabisa mzee.
Doesn't he see the writing on the wall?
Si ameona kwa ukuta.
Nikubaya.
But they could also be playing games on us.
Nimekuambia aje.
What do you mean playing
games? It's possible.
What do you mean?
It's politics.
Supposing if it doesn't end up with impeachment, it's most likely there was a game to distract us.
Any diversionary tactics.
It's possible.
From the main thing.
I don't see that because Ishungwa and the rest of Mount Kenya are split. They're being, they're doing their best to split the mountain.
It's possible, yeah. But again, let's assume it is serious and it is real. Then there's trouble ahead for both Gachagua and Ruto.
And the talk on social media, especially, saying that impeachment could happen in as much as 2 weeks.
Yeah, Suri has said 2 weeks.
Suri, correct.
Yes, and repeated it.
Yes.
It's possible. It's a simple, straightforward motion.
When they need a majority in that? Or simple majority?
No, I think you did 2/3.
2/3. Alafu aende.
But what's the basis from where you said, what's the basis
what went
impeaching?
Wrong?
They'll manufacture something.
No, what went wrong?
What went wrong? Well, what I know and what I hear and what could be, there is quite a number of things. What I hear is perhaps they have a problem sharing the loot. Biashara. Nambecha. That's what the fellows are saying.
Yes.
But you see, these two people are not compatible. Basically combative, both of them. None concede ground whenever there are differences, as indeed there will always be differences.
Yeah.
So that makes it very difficult for people like those to work. A deputy must be somebody. Let's, for lack of better word, English is difficult.
Yeah.
Somebody maybe submissive, somebody maybe who can submit to authority very easily.
Yeah. Mid-2022, DP Ruto then, he was DP during his campaigns. He indicated that he chose Gachagua because the then Madeira MP is a prayerful man who is concerned about the plight of Kenyans. He went ahead and indicated that, I assure you that Rigathi has a strong personality and I was looking for a strong man. I am comfortable with him because Kenya needs such strong people who can tackle the challenges of one nation.
But Prof, 2 years later, 2 years, does that make sense? And Kindiki was the first choice, by the way. Remember that day?
Yeah.
Remember that, I think it was a Saturday.
Yeah.
When they were going to announce who the DP was.
Everybody thought it would be Kindiki. All the MPs. So there's nothing new. These MPs who are against Gachagua never wanted him from the word go.
Yeah.
So there's nothing really new. And he's not even surprised. I hear some narrative which is not quite true. That all Ruto needed was to get somebody from Mount Kenya.
Yeah.
So there's nothing special about Gachagua. And I think there's nothing further from the truth. Let's assume he took Kindiki. The kind of backlash he would have received from the Kikuyu side of Mount Kenya, the so-called western side, would have cost him dearly. That is a fact. And if you look at who else he would have picked from Mount Kenya West, Manyora, the narrative was going to be that he's looked for a weak person he can control and manipulate. So I think the Kikuyus voted for Ruto. First, because he chose one of their own, as opposed to Kindika, peripheral Mount Kenyan person.
Yeah.
And secondly, because they had confidence that this is not a man Ruto could put in the pocket. So to argue that anybody would have been running to Ruto and he would have won is, to me, is the point badly.
But isn't this a typical case of use and dump?
Certainly. It's a very common thing among politicians. And it's not just even in Kenya here. Yeah, it happens everywhere. Politicians, once they use you, they just want to dump you. Yeah, because you are going to make many demands. You know, a weak person you choose doesn't make demands. But if you choose a person who knows what value he brings, and this is a problem you're having with governors and their deputies, because they choose governors on the basis of perhaps where they come from, the sub-community they come from, and therefore you bring those votes. If the guy comes from north, he chooses a deputy governor from the south, and that deputy governor knows why he's been chosen. He's brought votes. Senior sub wanapiga. So a person like that will certainly make a lot of demands. And the first reaction, which is perhaps just normal human behavior, is to find a way of getting rid of him. And what governors do is to isolate them totally.
But Prof, I mean, it boggles my mind that it's been 2 years.
Yes,
it's been 2 years since this duo, this tag team have been together, and now it looks like kimeumana.
Sema kimeumana.
And is it a situation that can be salvaged? Because sasa inakuaje baba na mama wanapigana mbele ya watoto?
Let us assume it is not stage managed. Like I said, it will cost both of them. Especially Ruto, it will cost him dearly.
But it's like he doesn't need the mountain this time around.
How?
He's galvanized Western.
Which Western?
Mudavadi, Wetangula.
These guys here, these are reliable voters. They are the second most populous community. Does that get reflected in the votes? First of all, the registration? Certainly no. And even those who register, do they vote? No. So you cannot replace a sure bet with a shaky bet. How can you replace a sure bet like Mount Kenya with a shaky Western Kenya vote?
Your design.
Look, I don't know here Sabugani wanapiga kina Ruto. 2.1 million Luo voters in the 4 Luo counties registered. 1.4 voted. 700,000. Siaya, Homa Bay, Kisumu, and Migori. They didn't vote. If half of those voted, giving it a turnout perhaps of about 80% or 70-something percent, Raila would have beaten Ruto with all the shenanigans.
Hands down.
Hands down. Now, people who couldn't vote for their own, at the point he had the best ever chance of becoming president, how do you think they'll vote for you? And the Kikuyus and the Mount Kenya people voted for Ruto in numbers.
To a man.
So,
Tene. You see, to me, it doesn't make sense. There's no logic. How would you get the firm, solid Mount Kenya vote and trade it off with a team like the Luya and the Luo people, who are not reliable voters? It doesn't make sense.
So what's behind that thinking then? Because, ODM is now solidly in the government.
That's why I'm surprised. And if you, for example, you impeach Gachagua successfully, which you can, it's a question of numbers, then you put there Kindiki. First of all, you lose Mount Kenya West. Okay?
Gone.
And then you lose Western. Because the Luya are hoping if you remove Gachagua, you give him Dabad.
Yes.
So you don't give him Dabad, and Luya is gone. Your opponent will only need to have a Luya running mate like Natembea. And there are no votes there for
it. It doesn't
add up. Does it add up? It doesn't.
What about Gladys Wanga?
Now Wanga, that is even now the same, is worse. The Luyas will say, okay, kumbe wajaluo ndio watu. We've been with you and now you think now these are better people. So the Luyas will be up for grabs. Okay? You've lost Mount Kenya. I mean, yes,
precisely. Shock on all of these people. You wanafikiria wacha to strategize on tribal lines.
Studio kaambia Jeff toka nje. Toka nje.
Nani toke?
Toka, you are the man now.
Yes.
Kitu.
GenZs.
Nyorosha hii wananchi. Nyorosha kama Jerry Lawrence.
Jeff Tosha.
It can happen like that, and then all these oldies wanafikiria the old tactics that apply wakwe shocked.
Prof, let's not forget that 8 million people did not vote in 2022.
They did not vote.
8 million.
And another 8 or more did not register. And a majority of that are these young people.
Who have decided.
If they take a direct interest in the elections of 2027, then people like Ruto and the rest and Raila stand absolutely no chance. Absolutely no chance. Because they don't resonate with them. Absolutely no chance. It will be a new arrangement, a new game altogether. So they may take an old person or a familiar face, but in a sort of caretaker arrangement where they will take power in another couple of years, perhaps after that.
Right.
So, but we're just being hopeful. We are hoping that happens. If it doesn't happen, we are back to the old politics, and my friend, unfortunately for you, it will be tribal and ethnic based and all are regional.
But what I appreciate is that,
and if it works like that, then I do not understand hesabu gani Ruto anapiga.
Inaitwa ya abunuasi, hesabu ya abunuasi.
Because I cannot imagine you can dream of losing Mount Kenya, even if it were Mount Kenya West alone, and go hunting in Nyanza. There are no votes there. These are not reliable votes. They didn't register well to give Raila the presidency. Those who registered, about 30-something% didn't turn out to vote. 700,000 people. And Raila was beaten by 200 or so thousand. Come on, give me a break. I don't think, it doesn't make sense to me.
Are you saying the math is not mathing?
It's not mathing. I do not see how consciously, with your eyes wide open, you can walk into politics that convinces you can ignore the Kikuyus in this country. Because there are two communities. If you ignore them, then you don't understand Kenya. You can't ignore the Luo, you can't ignore the Kikuyu. Jomo Kenyatta will tell you if you went to see him, he's your relative here.
Yes. Dynasty.
Kama kuna simu, dial number 9.
Yes.
He will tell you, no, you can't. I heard, as the people in the village will say, with my own ears, in State House, we had visited. Moi said this. He State House, where's Lala kama wajaluwa napiga kelele kwa town. He said it. Those tough moments around 1990 or thereabouts. So you cannot ignore the Kikuyus also. Moi knew for the 24 years he was in power. People have argued, and I think wrongly and foolishly, that Kikuyus were persecuted by Moi. Nothing could be further from the truth. You cannot govern this country if you ignore those people who have the password to the economy of this country. You can't ignore them. If somebody is telling Ruto he can, then he's lying to him. You cannot. And Moi didn't. 24 years. People say he destroyed the coffee industry as an example. I tell him, is that true? Yes. For how long was Kibaki president? 10 years?
10 years.
Uhuru?
10.
20 years. How come they haven't righted that? If it was just Moi who broke it.
Yeah.
They haven't mended it for 10. It is a much more complex issue than somebody in State House. You get it?
Yeah.
It's even a global problem where we produce cash crops. You know? If you try value addition, the cartels in London, if it is steel, work on you. You get it?
Yeah.
So I don't think it would make sense for anybody to imagine they can ignore Mount Kenya region. And you could win, but there will be a lot of trouble for you ahead. Yeah. So it's ill-advised.
Okay, you mentioned Baba a moment ago.
Yes, Baba.
Who's now
government
unofficial candidate for the chairmanship of the AUC. His chances, in your opinion, what do you think are his chances?
The math is not mathing. Like you said. Ukipiga hesabu yo number kuna. Haingi. But he can still get.
So
he can get.
Okay, let's look at this scenario. Yes. He doesn't get it. And Arudi home.
Home, yes.
Aibu
Gan, who tells you he wanted?
No,
these are you people, you have to learn to understand the politician.
Yeah,
supposing he had a deal with Ruto, and this was just a cover-up to convince these people, this is why I'm supporting Ruto, because he's also supporting.
So what's the
lakini mambo yao wamemalizana huko chini.
Mambo gani?
Mambo yao. Mambo ni mingi.
Mambo ya Pentagon ama?
Mambo ni mingi bwana. Sasa
mtu amelambishwa kakitu.
Uniite JKL. Hiyo mambo sasa. Jaribu kuchambua mambo gani. But I'm just saying, supposing there's a deal between them.
Yes.
And this AU is just a smokescreen, an excuse to convince the people. So he may not need. Secondly, to answer you, Raila has lost many elections. Losing another one like AU doesn't mean much. I've been with Raila when he has lost, and I'm telling you, the last election, I couldn't believe it.
So in the attack,
nobody in the team is eating, but Raila anapiga anakata samaki tu na ugali yake brown. That guys can't eat. I'm telling you, that guy is strong.
Yeah.
So losing AU to Raila is nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mswaki.
He will just come back here and
laugh about
continues.
it.
Are you serious?
I'm telling you, I've been close to Raila. I've seen.
But is it going to be a blow to the country's image?
But we have lost before. Amina Mohammed lost. So there's nothing new, my friend. You don't have to read the Bible where there's nothing new under the sun.
But Amina is not Baba. You see, Amina losing and Baba losing.
What's the difference?
Baba is a heavy hitter.
We are used to losing these seats. These things we lose. But Baba has lost from 207. And that losing is really losing, you know what I mean, eh?
Yeah.
In quotes.
Yeah.
207.
Yes.
I saw the pain on his face. You saw it at KICC. 207, 2013, 2017, 2022. This guy has developed a thick skin. So he will come back and he'll just go and watch Arsenal.
So is he a loser? A long-term loser?
Or he becomes Ruto's running mate.
Guy.
That will be a wrong combination. They could play around with the constitution to provide for prime minister of sorts, which he could take.
Yes.
But I think the better arrangement would be, there are two possibilities. One, Raila could put his people, and this we are talking about perhaps even close family members, into government, Winnie and the rest of those people. But there's also another lethal card. Raila could run.
He can't run.
Why not?
Where's he?
And tell me the reason. Tell me the reason. Raila is a young boy. And age, and the age is just, Jeff, I've been with Raila in places. That man is old, but he's sharper than this young guy here.
Are you serious?
I'm telling you. People have been in very serious places for him, where Raila is just a participant, and people are talking. You think he's even sleeping. When he stands up to speak, that guy has a sharp mind. I'm telling you.
Does
age is nothing to Raila.
Does he have the energy?
Oh, a lot of energy. Raila is more energetic. I remember Mtimama talking about Moi. Say Moi is a boy, is a young boy. Ona vile anapanda ndege akikimbia. You remember that time?
Yeah, I remember.
Raila has a lot of energy. Of course, these bodies at some point they give way, and a friend of mine called Malo at the university says body parts begin to fall down.
And fall off.
But other than that, Raila has the energy, has the focus, has the determination. You never saw a guy with that kind of determination and conviction. Let me tell you, Raila has energy that very few people have. In this country, I have seen Moi, Raila and Ruto.
Energetic.
So even Raila at his age, what is left of Raila is still better than many young people. Yes. I've stayed close to people like Atroli, for example. Those are my friends. People say they are old, but the sort of energy Atroli has, I don't have.
Yeah. I agree with you there.
He gets to his office around 5 when I'm still kicking the blackboard or the duvet, whatever you
and
call
you're struggling.
I'm struggling to wake up. Even coming here today was a struggle. Again, because I respect Jeff. So Raila has the energy, has the focus, has the brains, and he can run. And let me tell you, this is what Ruto ought to be afraid of. Once Raila helps him to dismantle his relationship with Mount Kenya, once Mount Kenya is gone, and I hope these guys surrounding Ruto can listen to me, once that is completed, that you are completely severed, ended your relationship with
Mount Kenya.
It's gone, like it's now going. An impeachment, whether it succeeds or not, will be the last nail, as they say, in the coffin. And you have lost Mount Kenya. You know what Raila will see? What footballers see, like him, he loves football. If there's something has happened and the goalkeeper is not in, can somebody give the pass to another one? They must score the ball. I'm going to pick at you.
Over the bar.
So Raila will see
Over the bar.
Ruto's underbelly exposed. He has lost Mount Kenya. And this is a free pass. I'm going to score. This one I can't give anybody else, even if I'm a full back huko nyuma.
Yes.
Goalkeeper there. We used to play during the rain, and then maybe the goalkeeper and a slide kwa kiwanja, and then the goalkeeper goal in a back yake. Raila, he will run.
He might miss.
He will run. And if he's supported by the Gachaguas, he will win.
Ruto has neutralized ODM, the only opposition that was there.
Yes.
The only and he's brought in Joho, Oparanya, Mbadi. Nani mwingine Owalo
Wandai.
It's neutral, it's checkmated.
Yes, that doesn't stop Raila from getting his troops. Raila doesn't need more than 3 months to assemble. When he came last time, we wrote him up. At what point did he come, Jeff? It was in November of 2021. And the election was the following year, 2022.
Right.
He was able to come from behind and catch up with Ruto. And many people yafanya ile kitu lakini sasa lazima tunyamaze. Watu wameanza kudisappear.
Abduction.
Jeff, you're a young man. I don't want to hear you have disappeared.
Nowhere to be seen.
Nowhere. Abduction.
So Raila can run. He can reorganize ODM. He can reorganize a following. Of course, he will lose some people. Ruto is a very smart politician. And I think people like Joho, if Raila were to come back, he won't get them. They will have gone kapsa.
Yes.
That's the risk he's taken. But there will be an ODM. There will be a following. Not enough to win the election, but to make sure Ruto doesn't win. Somebody else would win.
Who?
Somebody else. Matiang'i, for example, why not? Somebody like Matiang'i can win.
And what's the Kalonzo factor?
Or a Kalonzo, for that matter. You know, sometimes when things work like this, it is pale people like Kalonzo who benefit. Yeah.
But isn't it just the same old players being recycled?
That's the truth. That's what I was telling him. Things haven't changed. And if they change because of Gen Z, even then the Gen Z cannot take a DJ to studio like those other places.
Yeah.
They will not take a DJ,
As a president.
As a president. So they are likely to pick on these usual figures, to birth the revolution.
Yeah.
And that's how people like Alonso and Matiang'i come in. The Gen Zs can come and say, okay, fine, we're supporting this gentleman. So long as he puts in place some kind of agenda to realize what we want for this country and to prepare us to take over. And I've told these people, it's a very simple thing. If Kalonzo were to work with Gen Zs, and I've given an example of, say, how do we make sure that the Gen Zs take over power from us in 5-10 years ahead? Say, okay, 70% of MCS will be Gen Zs. That's quite possible, 40% of MPs are Gen Zs. The first instance in 2027. Then they will trust you. They will believe you. And it's not just talking. You say in every constituency, just give us a name. One. No money, just give us one name. The candidate, the Gen Z candidate, will make sure he wins. Especially in those strong places. So like, for example, let's go to Kambani. If it is Kalonzo, we tell Kalonzo, look here, we want to make you president. But we want 40% of MPs in the country to be Gen Zs and millennials. So look at your current MPs. Anybody beyond 40, tell him to take a break. Because we want to give you a bigger thing. Don't be like Raila. Raila has always amused me. He's going for the big thing, but he's still following the small things. I've told him even in public, why do you want to be president and you are bothered about what your sister will become down there or your brother? Those are small things. Because once you become president, everything is yours. Unakuwa hata Kennedy in America, si alipatia ndugu yake
AG.
Yeah. Akauliza akasema, but is he an American? Yes. Qualified? Yes, please. Give me a break. Once you are president, everything. I don't understand that Danny deal, for example. And I'm sorry. I hope nobody feels bad. I don't understand all these games Putin played with us. And this many years later, we are allowing the same chaps to come and play with the whole country. If I am the president of the country, everything belongs to me. Why would I go into the Adani deal? Why can't I get people who understand mining You get all the money you want.
And then you can
Why
do
can't
an
I
airport?
tell some of these crookish friends of mine to go and get 2-3 million acres of land in Angola and do farming under facilitates? I mean, I don't understand. There are certain things that don't make sense to me. So if you are the president, the country is yours, basically. There's so much you can do in the country. You don't have to bother about what your brother becomes or before the elections.
And you can make as much money as you want, and everyone else in the value chain is going to benefit.
And if I'm Ruto, I don't have to make Murkomen a minister. There are many things I can tell Murkomen went to Angola. And this is mega farming. 5 million acres. Na market iko hapa Kenya utuleta ituta. Oh, what is the problem? I don't have to make you a minister. Well, I can give you business. So Kalonzo can be convinced, for example, in those very obvious areas. So make sure anybody older than Robert Ombui in your lineup gives up his seat. Vijana wachukue. At a Senate.
The Gen Z need to organize themselves and strategize and get one candidate who might not necessarily be a younger person. It can be one of the oldest, but someone who's willing to steer this country in the direction that the Gen Zs want.
Example is like how many of us will go to National Assembly, Senate, how many of us as Gen Zs will be in MCS, how many of us will be in cabinet, and which cabinet portfolios. That's a serious covenant.
And must it be a politician who's been actively involved, or it can be someone who tried a shot at presidency, failed previously?
It depends.
Inaweza kuwa Wajakoya, for instance.
The dynamics. You know, it doesn't have to be a particular person.
Akina Lumumba.
But you see, Kibaki was there in 2002 when the wave came. It was Kibaki. It couldn't have been somebody else very easily. There were others. Kalonzo, Saitoti was there. Raila was there. Why was it Kibaki? He wasn't necessarily the best.
True.
But it was him. Circumstances, like Shakespeare will tell you. Things, the tide brings things to men, and it's for you to grab it, what is brought to you. So circumstances produce people. Okay? So if it is Kalonzo, it's Matiangi, it is Jeff Koinange. Yeah, even you. We can, please. Nione Kando, behind the tent. I want to begin this now.
It's possible.
It's possible, any of them. But of course, it has to be somebody with some measure of credibility, electability. It can't just be a man from the street.
Married.
It has to be somebody like Alonso. I mentioned Matiangi. There are people like Jimmy Wanjigi. But you know, somebody will come up. Because that's going to be a wave. It's going to be a movement, and that kind of thing produces people, because it also generates heat, and not many men can stand heat.
And the Kibaki Tosha moment, that was very close to the elections, wasn't it?
Yes.
It
very
was
close.
6 weeks or maybe
very close,
something like that.
Very close, 2 months or less.
Yeah,
very close.
And it worked.
It worked. That's how these things work. So, and you see, even if people were to remove Ruto under normal electioning, whatever, it has to be a wave. It has to be a movement. If they structure their campaign around an individual this early, you can't beat Ruto. It has to be a movement of Kenyans determined to change this country. At the very end, just like in 2002, one of them will emerge, the presidential flag bearer, and there will be factors favoring him. You see, but to sit down and begin drawing it is so and so now will be a little tricky. But the Gen Zs, if they continue with this, they will determine the election, one way or the other.
And they have to continue.
I'm not asking them to continue, but if they continue, fine. You want me to ask them to continue?
Please.
No, I don't want to ask them.
So do you think it's only the Gen Z movement that can
stop? I was there in the 80s and 90s.
You were there.
I was there in this country. I don't want to say more than that.
So, Prof, is it only the Gen Z movement that's able or has what it takes to stop Ruto from getting a second term?
Yes, for two reasons. Reason one is that they have the numbers. We have just said there are 8 million people didn't vote, another 8 didn't register, and a lot more would if, in other words, if they can. So they register, they have the numbers, they can mobilize, they can organize the way we saw. So they are better than all of us in terms of mobilization and organization and all that kind of thing.
That's one.
That's number one, the numbers and how to organize the numbers. Number two, which is really fundamental and critical, is that you cannot steal their election. You cannot steal their election.
Explain.
why has Raila repeatedly lost his election? Because he has not manned his polling stations. These people, this is an army. GenZs is an army. They can be even 500 every polling station.
Yeah, but the other
without
guys,
breaking the law.
The other guys are Venezuelans.
You can't manage them because, look, one of the arguments advanced that in terms of those who believe Ruto didn't quite get this thing properly, and let us believe he got it. As far as Hot 96, Manyora, Jeff, and Gunza, as far as we are concerned, he got it. But those who advance the argument that he didn't go to Mount Kenya, where they say the turnout was manipulated. Okay, they cite things like by noon, some polling stations had just recorded 1 or 2 voters. The weather has almost also conspired to make people not turn out to vote most of Mount Kenya region. But so I'm saying this: GenZs will guard the vote.
Proper.
For example, when you enter a polling station, within 1 hour, say for example, they will throw it in the air there in the clouds.
Like as the results are being announced.
No, 6 people have voted in this polling station. After another 1 hour, and the law demands so actually, is that it's being ignored. And after 1 hour, they say now 18 people have voted. At the close of business, say in this polling station, only 65. Where will you get the extra number? But finally, in that particular respect, the second one is that people like Raila and the rest allow people to mess with their votes. There is nothing that takes place in Bomas. And the law is specific, the Maina Kiari thing. Voting takes place at the polling station. That's where the president is elected. What do people go to do in Bomas? There is absolutely nothing. When does the American Bomas happen?
It doesn't.
It happens it's a formality.
In the States.
It happens around, their Bomas happens somewhere in December. When Congress meets to say, oh, so-and-so has won. But the moment voting has taken place, the press is there, they call.
Even media houses,
they call an election. So
right.
the Gen Z will call the election. And that is the
unofficially, and say
that is the direction to go. When somebody stands, he knows his figures beforehand. And you look at where you are, look at the remaining votes, and say, even if this guy got all the remaining votes, he can't catch up. You call press.
They know how to mobilize, how to organize, how to strategize, and they can guard
their vote. Who else can? That's lethal. Nobody. Once they turn out and they decide they want to change this country, you can't stop them. That's why I was laughing and say, people who advise politicians, I don't know where they get advisors. If I had been Ruto, I would have worked with Gen Z. Just take over, manage the change. He's lucky that he was lucky that the demands they were making were very simple demands. They never put up a demand that would scare anybody.